Would you please join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are you ready for roll call?
Councilmember Larson,
Yes.
Councilmember White,
Present.
Councilmember Dan Hahn,
Present.
Council President Cox,
Present.
Councilmember Stubble, Councilmember Josh Hahn,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson.
Here,
You have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
thank you. We're to the time we need to approve the agenda, Missy. Sorry, that was bad.
Yes, Council President.
Still.
Mayor, I move that we amend the agenda with two items. One, that we add item J, which is to approve the donation of alcohol to Lander Pet Connection Gear and Beer fundraiser for the changes that we've been hearing about approving donated alcohol. And lastly, after that we amend the agenda to add an executive session regarding potential litigation.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve as amended.
I think we need a
We need a second
Oh,
to Councilmember
I'll second.
Stubbles.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. And then we need to call for the question to approve the agenda as amended. Councilman Larson.
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
Yes. Okay, moving on, next item, communication from the floor. If you want to talk, please come up and approach the microphone, state your full name for the record. And turn on the recorder. It's a little guy's head. And everything is electronic recorded. And all comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Is there any comment from the floor? None tonight? Okay, we'll move on. Mayor and council updates. Councilman Larson,
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman White,
Thank you, Mayor. Senior Center only meets the beginning of the month, so nothing there, but Planning Commission hosted an open house last week that was very well attended. And I've heard from a number of folks, they appreciate the opportunity both to hear what's being talked about, but then also have some one-on-one conversations with folks. As to be expected, there are some community concerns about what's being proposed. And one thing I would ask all of us is to remember that this is our highest level priority in our strategic plan is creating more attainable housing. I also think it's important to be able to provide education to our constituents when they make some of the suggestions and why they're either feasible or not. And certainly one that continues to come up is rather than have the slight increase in density in town, why not go out? And a reminder for folks, if you extrapolate what the Lincoln Street project is at 7.3 million for less than a mile, just under a mile, to do that for all of Lander streets is 400 million and change. So literally, if we look at adding more miles, incorporating more miles into the city of Lander, that's just not financially feasible for us. And I think we need to be able to articulate that to our constituents because that's going to be one of the most commonly stated things about rather than this, do that. I'd also urge all of us, if you're not in agreement with what you're seeing the Planning Commission present, then it'd be great for you to come with your own suggestions about what are functional, achievable ways that we can create attainable housing in Lander, because we're also hearing from our constituents that it is a problem. We're hearing that from businesses and recruiting, and I think that's a pretty important one for us to be tackling. Thank you, Mayor.
thank you. Council. Can you want to respond to? Do it during your update. Can you do that?
That'll work.
Councilman Hahn?
Well, what I was gonna say is, if you have not been up on the mountain, you need to get up there and see the leaves are changing, and it is absolutely beautiful up there. It's gonna be a good one this year. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cox?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any updates this evening.
Thank you. Councilwoman Stubble?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a few updates from the committees that I'm a liaison to. The Poja Conservation District met, as they always do, monthly meeting in September. And an item that came out of that for the city to pay attention to is the fact that the river gauge on the river up by Mortimer, there's been some confusion about who owns and maintains and the ongoing cost for any replacements that might need to happen. So Conservation District asked if we'd be interested in joining in a conversation. And so I passed that on to staff, and I think Kelsey's gonna schedule something, Lance and Regine, that I don't need to be present at. So they won't schedule around me to think about who the other stakeholders are and if there's some kind of cooperative space that we can have to make sure that river gauge is functioning and maintained and there for the future, since it's so important for us to understand the water coming down into town. The tree board also met for the first time. Pretty exciting to get that group together. They are certainly enthusiastic. And they are raring to go. So we're going to provide, they asked for some sample bylaws so they could use to model their bylaws after, get that going first, and then to take a look at the ordinances that we have that are conflicting and, make the recommendations about any fixes that we can then take under consideration to approve. So we'll make sure they get copies of all those old ordinances, and I think they're going to hit the ground running, Mayor. They're certainly
think they're-
excited.
It's a good group.
It's a good group. Yeah, pretty excited for their volunteerism, as with everybody who does, joins our committees. And then lastly, Energy and Environment Task Force met recently also. They're gonna meet with city staff this Friday about solar and battery backup potential for here at City Hall. I'm not gonna make that meeting sadly, so I'll look to staff to provide updates from that, but I hope to get the PowerPoint from Kara so that I can get up to speed. Seems pretty technical and pretty interesting. And then lastly, they workshopped, just a general idea here, nothing in planning, but the possibility of what would look like to work with the solid waste district to get a transfer station in town for recyclable materials to try to ease that, the travel out to the transfer station. Well, what will be the transfer station when the dump closes. So toss around a bunch of ideas about locations and other stakeholders to bring together, see if we could get something going there. Thanks, Mayor.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, now Councilman Hahn?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'd like to say congratulations to the Lander Tiger football team for their win last week, and it's homecoming week this week, so I'm hoping they can pull off another one. Be pretty exciting to see. And secondly, so when I started these meetings, you were saying affordable housing, and now you're not saying that anymore. You're saying attainable housing. And I was looking at realtor.com, Zillow, all of that. We have quite a few houses for sale in Lander. You can get a 500 square foot one for 235,000 for 500 square feet. I don't think we have a housing issue. I think we have a pricing issue for the wages that are being given in this town. I don't agree with the giant apartments that are like 12 feet off of somebody's back porch, as you can see on 8th Street, 8th and Washakie. And that's a conversation to be had elsewhere, but I just wanted to say, it went from affordable to attainable, and I think there's a reason for that. Reason that you change your terminology on that. Because they're no longer affordable in this town, and that's the problem.
We had discussion tonight. Did you have something, Dan? I'll go ahead and allow it.
I just wanted to make a comment. I brought this up a while back, and in all of our travels, talking to different people around the country, I want to bring this back up. What people are finding out is these Airbnbs and short-term rentals are coming back to haunt them. And they're losing, and if you really take a look at it, I mean, a lot of the houses are the ones that people are trying to, like the starter houses. And so looking at that in Lander, we're like 125. That's 125 houses that somebody could be living in. where I'm going with this is maybe we should think about putting a cap on this and seeing if it will slow things down. Because if people are coming in, and if you guys remember when that young guy, there was a young guy that came in and he told us about giant corporations and people moving in and buying all these short-term rentals and really changing the dynamics of a city. And I think we really should, if we're crying that we want to get people into houses, we might want to think about maybe putting a cap on this or shutting it off at a certain number. So anyway, that's, just on the same subject. So thank you very much.
Okay, I let Dan talk. Did you want to come back, Missy, a little bit?
Yeah, Councilman Josh Hunt, you're correct. The language changed, not so much from a price point, but because affordable had so many connotations about meaning very low income. And that wasn't what we were talking about. We were trying to talk about workforce housing, folks who are coming in and having $60,000-$70,000 a year jobs, so attainable housing. Both here in Lander and statewide, that language has changed because of the negative connotations that folks had about the specific word of affordable. They thought it meant it was going to be people who didn't have jobs, et cetera, for that reason. And to Councilman Dan Hahn, that idea has been broached, and the concern is that we would be opening ourselves up for potential litigation by infringing on private property rights. So until we have some guidance, ideally from the state, that would say we have the latitude to limit the number of Airbnbs, which a number of communities have done, but to date has not been a very popular approach in Wyoming. We tend to have pretty strong private property rights, so that's one of the concerns about trying to move in that direction. But agreed, there are a substantial number of short-term rentals that could be our housing for workforce. Yeah, it's a complex, housing is a complex topic for sure, and lots of facets to it. So we'll have a great conversation on October 8th.
Okay, thank you. All right. That was quite a workout. We'll move on to the staff updates. Chief Peters.
It's been extremely busy. I don't have much to report tonight, except for, I'll talk on the next meeting here. So I could field any questions if you have them.
Any questions for Chief? Easy night. Lance.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick update. We did finish a smaller project that was installing a stilling well down by our discharge location for our sewer ponds. We're putting in that well to get measurements for our next permitting. We've been really hampered by our permit down there. And a lot of that is based on not having great flow information after the confluence comes together, after Baldwin and Squaw Creek return flows. So down there, we're starting to take measurements. We'll report that back to DEQ and EPA. And we think that's really going to help out long-term, when on our permit requirements as far as what's actually going on in real time. So maybe that's a field trip at some point for one of these council meetings upcoming that we could show you guys that project. It's pretty amazing down there as the confluence comes together, and not a bad place to see, but also show you the function of that project and how we're collecting data and how it works. So that's about it, Mayor, unless anybody has any questions for me. Oh, we did that mostly in-house with the help of a contractor with his larger excavator. So yeah, did that through our general services and our on-person staff.
The water tank project's going well.
Yeah, they're wanting to fill it, but we're holding them back right now until we can deliver it. So we don't want to see all that water being wasted. So we'd rather go to chlorinating, filling, if it meets our parameters, to being able to serve it. And so that's where we're at right now, is hooking up electrical, our controls, our measuring devices. So we can take, after the leak test and make sure everything's good, we can take possession of that and start moving forward. So it's going really well.
Sounds good. I've had that meeting with you, and I thought everybody else ought to know where we're at with it. So,
yeah.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you.
Regine.
Thank you. I want to officially congratulate Shari to be, she is the WAMCAT Treasurer of the Year. So that is a statewide award that she was. I did put the full letter in your Dropbox, but I would like to read just a portion of it. Shari's dedication to financial fidelity, transparency, and efficiency have been invaluable in coordinating the City of Landers' annual budget process with an aim towards keeping our staff benefits affordable and attractive while still funding all of our maintenance and capital improvement needs. Shari's advocated for automation of our purchase orders, fleet management, grant management, and other financial systems, which has saved uncountable administrative staff over the last 3 years. Shari is the grant manager for most all of our state and federal grants, and also the 2010 and 2017 federal FEMA flooding disaster, something like that. Her skills were crucial in getting Lander a multi-year, multi-project, $44 million slip financing for the upcoming water and sewer and equipment SRF projects. So Shari, you are so much more than a treasurer to us, and we appreciate you helping Lander's success.
Thank you, Shari, very much. Appreciate you. But you're up though.
I just wanted to say that the next council meeting, we will be doing a budget amendment, shoring up the rest of the accounts for last fiscal year. Just finish the F-66 and the auditors will be here next month. Make you aware of that. I'm almost thinking that maybe we should consider a resolution that gives guideline for how much money you'd like to keep in your reserve. We always talk about 50% of what our total income is to sit in the unrestricted reserve. We will have surplus again this year. I'd like to fund that to where it needs to be or where your desire is, and then the excess to fund, keep continuing to fund our equipment maintenance line item, because we have been able to build both those line items up. I'm not sure how the council feels about that, if that's just a discussion you want to have every year and make that after the audit comes and we know what our surplus is and allocate it at that time, or if we could do it by resolution so that the person sitting in my chair would know how to make that entry at the end of the year. Just my 2 cents. And also at that WAMCAT education, Rochelle gave a 2-hour parliamentary procedure training class that was it was exceptional and spectacular. So if any of you need any parliamentary procedure training or groups, she is your go-to girl.
We go to her quite a bit about this, so. And Adam,
I don't have anything tonight unless somebody has any questions for
any
me.
questions for Adam? Okay, Rochelle?
I have nothing either unless anyone has a question.
Questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on to new business. You want to come up? Yeah, you're the head of this lift group, right, still? That's Still state your name and stuff, so everybody knows who you are.
I'm Marilyn Fisher. I'm Vice Chair of the Lift Committee.
Thanks, Marilyn. All right. Gonna do one at a time, I suggest. On the Lift Committee recommendations, A is to fund 75% of balsam root products. Requested award amount of $15,803 for the purchase of an 8 keg roaster and stoner and a commercial grinder to increase the roasting capacity. Questions, council? You want to make a motion and then
Move to approve.
get a second?
Second.
Good motion by Councilman White, second by Councilwoman Stubble. Discussion? Councilwoman
Less
White.
discussion and more an observation. Haven't been able to attend to the pitch night for this. I was really impressed with what this means for them. So it takes them from being able to be kind of small batch to individuals to actually being able to function in the commercial world. And the outreach they've done, to me, it seemed very, very Lander-like of they'd be working with local coffee shops to be able to sell they can't do that until they have this commercial setup. Stores would sell their beans for them. Others would use it in production. I thought it was a very impressive and very lander-based collaborative process. I was really impressed.
Yeah, Mayor, I would build on that if I may, just to, in some conversations with the owners, I mean, there's quite the entrepreneurial spirit for this little business. They've had some challenges, right? There's been some restrictions around parking that they had to overcome. They did that in a really creative way, seeking out other businesses they can make agreements with to find the parking spots they needed to satisfy our requirements for the businesses. Yeah, I'm super impressed and I'm glad to see that they applied and that they had such a quality application. So I hope we approve this.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions from Marilyn? Since there is none, we'll call for the question. Councilman Larson?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. Moving on. B, approve lift committee recommendation for the funding 100% of the Slow Food Wind River in the amount request award an amount of $10,958 to create a fund and a marketing strategy for the Meadowlark market. I get a motion,
So moved.
a second.
I'll second that one too.
Okay, got a motion by Councilman Larson, second by Councilwoman Stubble. Discussion?
I'd just like a little bit more information on how this the funding and marketing strategy, are they hiring some professional firm to come in and help them do this, or what are they trying to achieve here?
So yes, it's my understanding that they have, they're going to hire a contracted person with the expertise to set up a website so that they can sell all of their patrons' products online. That's their goal. And this 100% really isn't 100% of their project. It's just, you know, they're going to fund 50% of it themselves, but yeah, it's to set up a website mostly.
Okay, so it's not a marketing survey, it's a website that they're trying to set up to sell their.
Correct. That's my understanding. And maybe Missy, you might have more information.
I can't, excuse me, I can't offer anything on this one. Being one of the producers, I have to recuse myself from the vote and from providing any information.
Okay, so yeah, I think their goal is, right now they're serving, they have over 70 local producers that sell through their store, but they want to be able to sell on their website as well. And so they have to have that presence, and that takes expertise.
Is this something that happens year round, or is this just during the, basically the spring and summer months, or?
No, this is year round. They have a storefront on Main Street, and once they get the website set up, they'll be able to sell continuously.
Keep asking dumb questions here, but what do they sell?
So they sell products from local producers. It might be yogurt, it might be honey, it might be eggs, it might be, you know, meat. I mean, it's the things that, a lot of the things that you might see at the farmer's market, but they're able to produce it and sell it year round.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I would also weigh in support of this recommendation. Also, I've been a very happy customer at Meadowlark. It's been fun to add that to my, I'm sure we all know the jumping around the grocery stores in Lander when you try to find the thing you want, and to add that to the list. And there's always something that I find that I frankly didn't realize I wanted until you go in there. So Councilman Larson, I encourage you to take a look. It's pretty remarkable what's being produced here locally and what they're able to sell. And yeah, seeing them get going, it seems like it's a pretty strong trajectory in terms of their growth. And to add a Main Street business, you know, we're all very partial to seeing those storefronts filled up on Main Street. So it's an exciting one.
Okay, any other question? We'll call for a question. Councilman Jehan?
I'm having troubles on this one. I'm sorry. How does it help economically grow Lander? But I understand that it's local producers selling their product through this store. So it's I see how it helps them, you know, because they are basically the workers. So I guess I kind of answered my own question. Yeah, I'll go for it.
Okay, I'll call. Yes.
Yes. Yes for me.
Yes. Melinda?
Yes.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yes.
I'll recuse myself because I am one of the producers.
Larson?
Show them a carrot. Yes.
Yes. Okay, moving on. Item C, approve the lift committee recommendation to the little green truck on their award amount of $17,098 to purchase another vehicle and build up a pop-up counter. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve?
Get a second?
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Councilwoman White, second by Councilman Larson, to approve the little green truck. Questions? Concerns about this one?
Yeah, again, it's very impressed with the entrepreneurial spirit of the owner of this and getting it going off the ground, being very creative in their marketing, advertising, reaching out. Again, to me, this is very much speaks to the heart of Lander and the entrepreneurial landscape. Really impressed with their initiative.
Okay, any other questions? Call for the question, Councilman Larson.
No.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay. Moving on to item D. Approve the lift committee recommendations for the Lander Valley High School tennis pickleball courts. Or request for the award of $12,400 to purchase fencing and containment netting around the tennis courts or the pickleball courts now. Okay, I get a motion in a second.
Move to approve.
I get a second.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Councilman Larson, second by Councilman Stubble. To approve racquetball court, Lander Valley High School. Pickleball court, excuse me. Questions?
Mayor, I'll make a comment that,
Go ahead.
I mean, clearly a very competitive application and an interesting need for the city. I sort of shudder and in glee, but to think about the tournaments that could happen here and how we could, when you picture the soccer tournaments we have and how many people that brings to town, I bet we can do that for pickleball. We might need a few more courts, but we'll get there. I look forward to that day.
Let me just put a little plug in from too, is I was out there during the soccer tournaments again this year, and there were people from all the towns playing pickleball, waiting to get on the court, playing each other, so it's a busy place, so. Okay, gonna call for the question, Councilman Jehan.
Yes.
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 Yes. Item E. Approve lift committee recommendations to the Lander Free Medical Clinic and award the amount of $22,757 for full-time care coordinator salary. Can I get a motion?
So moved?
Get a second?
Second.
A motion by Councilman White, second by Councilman Stubble. Questions? Councilwoman White?
I know we've often not been really keen on funding salaries, and this one obviously is. To my way of thinking, this stands apart from most of the salary requests that have come before us, and that this isn't a for-profit business that is increasing their profit margin by having someone else pay salaries. This is a nonprofit, and the services they're providing are the people we see working in Lander every day. Their clients are folks who are working, they are stocking shelves, they're working in restaurants, they are providing all kinds of services. So to me, I look at this as the salary, and the Lander Free Medical Clinic is what I think of as a force multiplier. This is helping keep folks healthy in our community, helping keep them working. And I think what they're doing is incredibly important for our community.
Yeah. Call for the question, Councilman Larson.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, next is item F. Approve the lift committee recommendation to zero funds to 10 Pura business. $0. Need a motion in a second?
So moved.
Get a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Larson, second by Jay on. The lift recommendation was not to fund this. Okay, any
So
questions? Go ahead.
Just a question then, so if we vote yes on this, we're approving the lift committee's recommendation of zero, is that correct?
Right,
Okay.
okay, no questions? Call for the question, Councilman Jay on.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. Approve the lift recommendation for the funds 0% to 23 squared. Requested $7,500, awarded 0. Same scenario. Can get a motion in a second?
So moved?
Second? Get a second? Got a second? Come on.
Second.
Thank
Got
you.
a motion by
What is it?
Councilman White, second by
Dragging our
Councilman
feet
Larson. To approve this recommendation to the 23 square of $0. Call for the question, Councilman Jay Han.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay. Moving on.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thanks for the lift.
Approve corrections to clerical error and renumbering previous resolution 1339 to resolution 1341, authorizing a funding amendment to the Wyoming Water Development Commission for the well and transmission project line 2022. This is just a clerical error. We had the wrong two numbers. There was two numbers named the same thing. So we just have to change the number. You already voted on it. And we just need to vote on this so it has the right number on it. Right, Michelle?
That's correct. The original resolution 1339 was the semi-quint committee creation.
Move to approve.
A second? I'm gonna call for the question. Got a motion by Councilman Larson, second by Councilman Stubble. Gonna call for the question. Councilman Larson.
Yes.
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 Yes. Item H, approve corrections to clear, I did that one. Excuse me, I did cross it off. Approve resolution 1342, authorizing submittal of a federal minerals royalty capital construction grant application for the State Land and Investment Board on behalf of the governing body of the city of Lander. You want to talk on that, Lance?
Yes, Mayor. Today we heard back from the SLIB board and we need to make a correction. This one, it would be $300,000 that we're eligible for instead of the 500. And so we need to make a amendment to agree to the 300,000 instead of 500.
Okay. Good motion.
Move to amend the application for 300,000 instead of 500,000 for resolution 1342.
Can I get a second?
Second.
And motion by Councilman White, second by Councilman Hahn to approve resolution 1342 as amended. Call for the question, Councilman Jay Han.
Yes.
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 Okay. We got the new one on, Jay. Approval of a donation of alcohol by the Lander Bar and Grill to the Coulter Group for the Lander Pet Connection. They're a 501c3. This is some of that new ruling for the beer funding fundraiser at the Wild Iris store location. Get a motion in a second. You're right, then we'll go.
Mayor, I move approve, all right, so moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Stubble, second by Councilman White. Rachel.
Wild Iris typically hosts this every year. It's a fundraiser for the Lander Pet Connection. So the Lander Bar as a retailer donates, my understanding is 2 pony kegs, but they can't donate it to a private business, but Lander Pet Connection is involved. They receive the proceeds or to some, on some level. So they, the Lander Pet Connection is a 501c3, has requested a malt beverage permit to accept the donation. And by Wyoming state statute, the local governing authority has to approve donations of alcohol. And again, alcohol can only be donated to a nonprofit recognized by the IRS.
Okay, any questions?
Just, so
Councilwoman.
Rochelle, can you clarify, this is, if I understand, this is kind of a new requirement or clarification coming from the state.
It's a new clarification coming from the state.
Okay, so we should expect to see more of these
As,
coming.
and part of that is a journey finding out how much is donated, which is sometimes new.
Yes, I can imagine that this is going to be a challenging one to be able to educate the broader public about.
And it may be a conversation that council wants to have on a broader level for guidelines and things of that nature.
Okay,
Mayor, if I may.
go ahead.
Yeah, I share that concern. And so I'm actually curious, just to zoom out for a minute, how did you, because this is a long-standing event, how did you become aware? I'm sure they didn't know that they needed to have this process, but how are we getting the word out?
So as council is probably aware, Amy Skinner sold the Wild Iris business to a group. As we were driving down Main Street, they're advertising their event in the window. So I called them and said, hey, great that you're having the event. Make sure you come in and request your malt beverage permit like Amy used to every year. They did that. And in that process, they wrote in their plan that there's this donation process that occurs. And so I reached back out to them and that's how that originated.
Well, appreciate the diligence that you caught that, but yeah, it's a future discussion about how we get that word out more broadly, because there's gonna be a lot of these events that will be affected, I imagine.
Okay, I'm gonna call for the question. If there's no more questions, Councilman Larson.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, I need a motion that we move into an executive session.
Mayor, move that we adjourn into executive session for the purposes of discussing potential litigation.
Can I get a second?
Second?
A motion by Councilman Stubble, second by Councilman White, to move into executive session on litigation. Call for the question, Councilman Jehan.
Yes.
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 Yes. Listen, Phil, water.
Yeah, we can put the survey. See where yeah, there's
Test, test. Is that better? Testing. That's about as high as I can go.
So we have anything under 7 would be per. The city. Corners, yeah, there is plenty of corners. So there are all of the. We'll look at it again and make sure. You can't see? Without a corner, you can't see. No, I trust you on that, it's transparent. Yeah, I heck of a hard today.
Ready here?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I move we exit executive session.
I get a second.
Second?
Got a motion by Councilman Stubble, second by Councilman White to move out of executive session. Gonna call for the question, Councilman Larson.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, gonna get a motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
Adjourn to our regular work session.
Second.
Second.
Okay, call for the question, Councilman Larson.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay.
Mayor, could I interrupt?
No.
Yes.
Oh.
We heard from the audience while you were gone that they're having a hard time hearing us. I've turned up both the sensitivity on your microphones and the overall volume, but please remember to speak into your microphone.
Test 1, 2. I know you are. I'm gonna hear you in a minute. All right, we're going right into our work session. And first on our agenda is the Housing Authority update concerns, the Table Mountain Living Project. Come on up. Either right up here, Judy. You can sit down. You couldn't hear me? Look at that help. You got help now.
Hi, I'm Judy Legursky. I am a member of the Lander Housing Authority, and we're here to tell you about what appears to be the demise of the assisted living, Table Mountain Assisted Living Center that we all had so much hope for. The short version of this is, number one, we're $14 million short. And number two, while we were midway through a meeting with the bond attorney, it became obvious that the housing authority had no legal ability to do what it was doing because the statute very clearly says that it can only do things for indigent people. And the Table Mountain Living Community, while it would accept Medicare and Medicaid, also accepted private pay. And the fact that it accepted private pay take it out from our ability to do what we were doing. So we were pretty far into that to learn that. So since then, and it's sort of painful because, you know, most of us aren't used to failing, and this is a good project and it's something the community really needs. So we've done a lot of work, and, you know, we've looked and had the legal opinion reviewed, and everyone's in agreement. And in fact, any of us can read it. It clearly states in maybe 4 places in the statute, indigent persons. So we looked at how else might we be able to do this. And one of the things we looked at was a joint powers board. And that looked really good, except for a joint powers board, you have to have 2 entities. And there was us and no one else. So that didn't work. There's the potential for forming a nonprofit and starting from scratch in that fashion. And also the potential for a private operator coming in. We were contacted by one private entity, and they were interested in probably taking the project and running with it until they said, we will not accept Medicare or Medicaid, only private pay. And that just doesn't work. I mean, we all know the situation here, and that wouldn't work in Fremont County. So the 4th operation is a city enterprise fund, which is sort of an interesting concept. It was something I didn't know anything about. And so we've looked at it, and it's a manner in which the city can use 501c3 fundraising. And some research was done, and there are other cities in the state who use their enterprise fund for golf courses, event centers. I mean, things that aren't necessarily actually city things, but it allows them to do that. So that is one possibility. And if you consider that, that means this project would land in your laps and move forward from there. So that would have to be your decision, looking at the memory care assisted living facility and whether it's a priority that you might want to take on, including the fundraising operation and everything. So that's, you know, I'm just bouncing that back to you, and that's a discussion you can have at the appropriate time. A little more background. We do have donated monies. And we also have a lease with the city. So depending upon what you all decide, we undoubtedly will be asking you to unlease the land from us, for lack of a better term. And we'll need to figure out which monies need to be returned. Right now, they're being held by the Wyoming Community Foundation. And if we were to do absolutely nothing, I think there's some provision in our relationship with them that they eventually would just absorb the money and it would become part of their corpus. And I'm sure we don't really want to do that, because there are probably other things that could be done. But there will need to be research done about what money goes back, what money can be given back. We have paid our bills. We have paid for the design. We have paid anything outstanding, so we are not in debt. We have not received the final ARPA check, but that will be coming shortly, and that'll have to be reviewed to see what happens with those monies. So basically, I'm just here to say, we're sorry it didn't work out.
No,
We wish we'd known it sooner, and it would have been nice if we'd had more money.
Yes.
But if the council determines that you wish to move forward to the facility, we'll do what we can to share some responsibility with you. And I've only been here in maybe 9 or 10 months on the housing authority, but so if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Questions? Councilman Larson?
John?
Judy, do you have any idea, or maybe this is a question for Lance, how much infrastructure have we invested in that project up there?
I do not know that.
Yeah, nothing's been installed currently, but there is a design for infrastructure.
Okay,
So there is still a grant to put in and extend water and sewer to that parcel. And I think that we'd have to talk about what that looks like if we're continuing to
yeah.
install infrastructure to that parcel for future, or if that could be done without having the project moving forward. So.
Then also, can you tell us how much money has been donated that, I mean, you've got sitting around there that,
Well, we have received or will have received once we get the ARPA award, 5,132,000 and some assorted change. And I assume you got this 3-page thing in your materials, and that amount is there and more details than I have highlighted here. So some of the monies, I think there's one portion that when we talked to the folks, they said, hey, we gave it to this project, it belongs there, and they don't want it back. And I don't know about the earlier individual donors from the community and how that will be handled. There's still a lot of work to be done.
that's too bad, but appreciate your work on that very much so.
Councilman Hunt?
First, I'd like to say thank you guys for all the hard work. It's not fun to put all that in and then have everything go south. But on this end, it sounded like there was a lot of hardships. Things were going into place and then falling apart, and that's not fun either. So, but thank you very much for all your work.
Councilman White?
I'll be another voice of sharing the disappointment in that news, and also incredible appreciation for all the work that you and others have done for this. It's been yeoman's effort to date. I personally would still like to see something be able to be revived from this. I don't know what that means, and if you have any suggestions about city enterprise for assisted living for dummies resources, please let me know, because I'm curious to learn more of what that entails.
Well, if I may respond,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor, there are a number of people who served their 5-year terms on the Housing Authority long before who know more about this than I do. And they'd be very helpful. And, and thank you for all your kind words. Most of the people here who've been working on it, we're all pretty aggressive and we're not used to failing. So this is a new experience that just really isn't much fun.
Councilman Stubble?
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I won't be too redundant with the gratitude, but thank you. And I imagine that's deeply uncomfortable, and the shock when that news came down was probably terrible to experience. Thank you for producing such interesting options for us. I'm with Councilwoman White that I'm not ready to walk away from the concept yet. Clearly, we need to do some more research and take some time with this. The City Enterprise Fund, I wonder, is there, in the very big hypothetical world we're in right now, is there a possibility where that could be the answer for the construction and maybe the first couple of years? And then we look at transferring that to, like, that's an asset we transfer to a private operator or a nonprofit, looking at those, right now, the private operator is not an option that seems viable, right? Given the constraints that they asked for, the new nonprofit wouldn't be eligible for long-term financing. I wonder if we can ease some of those questions, that we don't want the city in 50 years to have to own a facility, but can we get over this hump right now with that option, and then look at other ownership models? Has that come up at all?
I think that has potential, and then in the meantime, forming a nonprofit to which the city, however, whatever magic Adam could make, to transfer it to operations and management to that nonprofit.
Mhm.
It still gets down to the fact we're $14 million short of getting this going, and who knows what's happening with building costs out there.
Right.
I mean, at one point, we thought we were $2 million short, and then the bids came in.
Totally. Then the years went on. Mayor, if I may follow up.
Go ahead.
I'm curious about staff recommendations or just to hear about what the staff investments and capacity would be if we did the enterprise fund model. What does that look like for?
You guys
Every
know how it
task
looks
they-
like, and we haven't even looked at it. and
Yep.
See what it would look like. And
I've done a little research for the enterprise fund. It's certainly doable. The biggest question is how much money do we want to spend and how long do we want to operate it? And those are some difficult questions for the city to answer. And that's certainly something that the staff can look into if you guys want us to, but like Judy said, I can work some magic to make it work. It's just, do we want to make it work and how much money does the city want to spend?
Are you gonna say no to her? She smiles like you like that.
I am the magic man.
Yeah, I think it's up for discussion, see where council wants to go. Think about it. Everybody up here is gonna have to think about it. They feel about it, but like I said, I'm gonna echo it anyway. I do appreciate the housing board and all the hard work you've done. I've been to a few of your meetings. I know what it takes. So I do want to thank you guys, all of you, even the three of you that showed up tonight, or four. Yeah, so.
I keep thinking of a good friend of mine who always says, never confuse effort with results.
Yeah,
And the results here are nada.
now we know that the results aren't good, because I'm a opponent of, and I was opponent of having this move forward, but sometimes it just hits you right in the butt. Can't go, so, but it's worth discussing more. Thank you guys so very much. Any more questions?
Mayor, I do have another one if I may.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. go
I
ahead.
might be out of touch. I think you might be wrapping up, but I still chewing on this. When I look at the joint powers board option, I mean, also super brainstorming hypothetical, but is there any outreach to the county to see their interest at all? And just thinking about, right, we're losing an assisted living facility in Du Bois, like the county will not have one moving forward after that Warm Springs closes. Maybe that's a compelling point to talk about building one that services, add services for the county residents here in Lander. Any thoughts on that idea?
I think we just take it back, mull it over, and have a discussion on it, another work session.
Oh, you want us to come back to this?
Yes.
Okay.
I said, let's come back at another work session, have a discussion, let you mull it over. And see what you think then. And it's a shocker, so. Regine, your
Mayor,
lights on.
Thank you, if I may. What would the council like to see for information in another work session? Because we could all stand around and talk about the same things on the paper that's in your Dropbox. But what new information would you need to make a decision? So if you guys either want to discuss that now or send that to the board, we'd be happy to look at that.
Mayor, I'd like to see more detailed scoping, I guess, of the city enterprise fund in terms of the investments the city would need to make, staff time, budgeting, clearly the financials. So we'd be taking on the 14 million we'd be trying to find. So a clear, I think, weighing of the costs, and costs, I mean, broadly here to the city of that option. As it, appears to me as the most likely one that we're looking at here, the county one is pretty maybe out there, and then maybe there could be some quiet conversations with folks with the county, not staff, about the joint powers board. But that's where I would be.
There you go. You agree? Hey, did it give you a little
Thank you.
place to go forward? Okay,
Thank you.
Judy, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your
Appreciate you.
time.
And next on the list is Police Department. Chief, you're up.
Okay, what this is, we had talked about restructuring. So when it comes to the corporal position, for one, we need to we have the job description done, but also create the position. We're not creating a new position in the police department. We're restructuring it. So what it is currently right now, we have 5 sergeants. We would like to create corporal. So we're taking one of the sergeant's positions and making it a corporal position. just for the aspect of being able to train our officers. So to go from an officer to a sergeant is an extreme jump. It might not seem like it, but when it comes to having our new guys and our younger guys, by filling the position and putting them into a sergeant position, we're putting them into a position where we're expecting so much more out of them. And normally it does take between about 2 to 3 years to properly train them up to be a sergeant. So the idea behind here is, instead of doing that to our youngins, creating corporal positions, eventually down the road, what I'd like to do is we'd like to have 3 sergeant positions. So we'd have a detective sergeant, 2 sergeant positions on patrol, and then 2 corporals right below them. What the corporal position would be is, it would be a promotion. It would be a supervisory position, but it doesn't require so much of them initially. So it gives a ground for them where we can get people promoted, but in turn have time to be able to train them to be first line supervisors, and we have that time to do it. Also, from the fiscally responsible side, it makes more sense because we're promoting somebody up to a sergeant, increasing their pay dramatically, and we're not getting the sergeant level yet, which is nothing against the person, but they need time to be trained. Where ideally what this would be is moving an officer into a corporal position, then they have that ability. We have the ability where they have initial supervision, they have more duties, but we can get them their training. We can build them up what they need to be. And then they'll be more ready for when it's time to promote up and go up higher to sergeant level, and then eventually captain, chief, so on. It gives them a better fighting chance when it comes to learning the job instead of being a trial by fire.
Councilman Hahn?
I think I'm reading this right, but this is going to be an in-house selection too?
Yeah, ideally it would be, yes. When you look at the job description has the ability, so it does say, 5 years of experience. So when you look at the job description, it's the equivalent of what, if we had to advertise it out to the public, that would be the requirements, but ideally we want to promote from within.
Yeah, I would hope so. Thank you, Mayor.
Anybody else have questions for Chief?
You know what, Scott, looking at this though, I think you have the wrong grade on it because where you have it as an 8, that is lower than your sergeant that's on a 9. So you might want to look at that wage on it because I think it should be higher than an 8.
Well, we don't want to have it at the sergeant grade.
Well, you have him on an 8, you would have him below a sergeant.
Well, they will be below a sergeant.
Oh, I thought they were above a sergeant.
No, a corporal will be below a
Oh,
sergeant.
okay. I'm wrong.
Go ahead.
May I? Thanks, Chief. It's intriguing. Have you worked in departments with this position? Have you seen this in action?
I have not worked at departments, but I've seen other departments do it, and I've always wondered, that'd be perfect. Just the way my mind works, because I remember when I went from an officer to a sergeant, all of a sudden I was held to this high standard. And the problem is I didn't have time to get to that standard. So pretty much I got promoted, it was awesome, and then all of a sudden I got thrown to the wolves. Where in turn, it's like, okay, we're paying you, you got this title, you got this responsibility. Well, you know what? I never thought it was a very good system, where the corporal, to me, provides that promotion for the guys. It provides that upward movement, but it allows them to learn the job and has a little bit of, they don't have the same responsibilities as a sergeant, but they'll start supervising, and then we'll be able to have forward progress.
Mayor, if I may follow up, I mean, I like, the idea is always compelling to invest in our staff and in their growth and development, and then hopefully retain them in the department. Do you think that this would, I mean, like, I imagine this is aiming at that kind of retention then, and not having, I guess, folks who are, sorry.
Melinda's got a hand.
Yeah, who are having that difficulty if they're promoted above where their skill sets are, they might not stay, they might move. I mean, or we'd be bringing in for sergeant positions because we're not investing in that growth. So it seems like I'm rambling a little bit. I apologize. I think it's, am I hearing you correctly? It's aimed at that staff development so we retain in department.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Got there in the end.
Melinda?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple of questions of clarification. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Is it loud? Okay, so you talked about there being only one position, the one corporal position. Will you be taking that then from one of the sergeants? So it won't be a demotion of a sergeant, but it will be, you won't replace that sergeant. You'll facilitate hiring a corporal. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's no demotions involved in any of this. What it is right now, with Sergeant Cunningham leaving, we have an open position. So in a department of 20 folks, we have 5 sergeants on board, which really, if you think about it, it's 18 when you narrow it down. So what it would be is it's replacing, we still have the sergeant job title, but instead of having 5 sergeants, eventually down the road, now we have 4 sergeants. So right now it's just one corporal position, but to get the job title and the description in there to allow corporals. So this would be filling one corporal at this moment. And then down the road, if a sergeant leaves, it would be filling a second corporal.
So that ideally the corporal that would fill this current open position, if it's approved, would then move up to the sergeant, and then you would have an open corporal position without adding any other positions.
Yeah, in the perfect world, yes, it would be the corporal would be ready to become a sergeant in the perfect world, and if the system runs the way I'd like it.
So the last, well, maybe it's not the last one, but the next question I have is, with there being limited upward mobility within a police department, specifically in a rural community, is there expectation from the current officers that they would fill that sergeant position, and now that wouldn't be an option because we'd be taking that away?
Well, it could be. I can't speak for what their minds is, but it will allow upward movement. It's just the difference of the title from a sergeant to a corporal. But it will allow promotion and upward movement.
But a pretty significant difference in a title, really. Because then they have another level of promotion within that. Last question, feasibility wise, would it be feasible that we could have more than one corporal and still maintain 4 sergeants?
I don't think we'd want to have that many supervisors, first line supervisors of the amount of staff we have.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Do you need a nod from us or? Move forward with the
No,
job
this is just a discussion.
Just discussion.
It's a
Michelle?
discussion, but I can certainly put it on the next voting session to approve the job description and the creation of the role.
Works.
Seems like that would be helpful so that
Oh,
the
and
chief
amended wage schedule.
can start working on it.
Okay. Nothing else tonight? No. Lance and Hunter, you guys want to come up here? I can't see you behind that podium. And that's why you sit there.
Hi, Mayor and Council. A little bit about Hunter is I don't like ambiguity in life. I like a clear definition and as to what things are. So when we looked at the additional bidding out of the grounds for the community center, it seemed like it would be a tough to bid that job. So in your packets, I kind of gave you when I worked for higher education, they have standards for what grounds look like of levels 1 to 5, 5 being, well, what do they call it? Minimum level maintenance, all the way up to basically a putting green out there. From what I'm hearing from complaints about the grounds up there, I'm suggesting we go to a level 2 is what we want to see the community center land at. So I'm going to put this out to bid for what this looks like to maintain the grounds. Just kind of wanted to keep you guys in the loop of what that looks like. I have a feeling our bids are probably going to give us some sticker shock with what that looks like to maintain the grounds as they currently sit. Part of that may come with updating the grounds to maybe less plantings and more the organics that are out there and making it more usable spaces that we can use out front. with the golf course, delineating between the golf course and the community center with the split rail fence out there. It helps give clarity as to what is part of rented with the event and what is part of the golf course. So with that said, I think maybe some more green grass out in the front of in the building too, to make that a little easier to maintain. You can see in these levels, it gets pretty deep into herbicides, pesticides, horticulture, arboriculture. It's pretty in depth of what the grounds comes with, especially with what we have out there with the variety. I'd like to simplify that a bit to kind of keep that more budget friendly if possible too. Horrible echo.
Questions? Missy?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Hunter, you do like black and white. And I appreciate the level of detail. I'm curious why you went with level 2 over level 3, because I was kind of thinking it'd be, when I looked at this, like, yeah, I'm thinking more like a level 3, maybe a level 3 and a wee bit. So I'd love to hear your thought process.
Sure. If it were me, I would go with a level 3. I'm a little bit more budget conscious, and I'm a little bit more willing to look past some dandelions and a little bit of grass getting a little bit longer than we'd like. But I also know that this is a face of our community. There's a group renting it currently right now, and they're very they need a lot of attention. And so I know we get all sorts of different groups that want different things up there. So I do want to make it so we can talk to whatever contractors awarded the bid and say, like, this is the discussion and these are the accountables and what comes with that too.
I appreciate you didn't say concrete the whole thing.
No,
Much as I know you would have loved to have
Right.
that as an option.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice as it be to fire hose it off and just pressure wash the whole thing. It would be a very sterile environment and I jokingly say that, but it would be the cheapest and easiest thing to do. I think a good compromise to that would be a nice grass up front.
To tell you the truth, I can't even believe we're here talking about this. We should have never been put in this position, and all the way up till a few years ago, everything was fine. Everything was taken care of. And, you know, I hate to say it, Mayor, but now we have, and we wouldn't be here. I'm telling you what, we would not be here if anybody else would have had the contract. There's no way. We wouldn't be in this position and we wouldn't be catering because that's what's happening here. I mean, the whole town knows it. And to go and, you know, everything's been fine up till now. And then all of a sudden, we're looking at it and the rating on the care is really underrated. And this is going to cost big money. You know, I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, you're saying, I think we should have this, but we haven't had this and we wouldn't be here under different circumstances. And that's what really gets me, because, you know, this is going to turn into big money. And I said it way back when this went through, that, you know, this is going to turn into a nightmare. This is going to cost a lot of money, you know, $100, taking $100 off, and then looking what we're, you know, and I'm just upset. I'm not chewing you out. You're doing your job and I totally understand it. To tell you the truth, I think we as a governing body are the ones that made a mistake. And this is going to cost the citizens a bunch of money, because everybody knows, I mean, I'm no horticulturist, but I know that it's expensive, and we shouldn't be going down this trail, and we shouldn't have been put in this position. Totally. So anyway, I'm going to step off my horse and let you go. I totally understand what you're saying, but we shouldn't be doing this, to tell you the truth. Thank you.
I'm going to tell you what, and I'm going to try not to get too involved, but the problem is, when I was in charge of the community center with previous custodians and past years, we had these issues. We had hired Sprouts Greenhouse to go in and fix them and clean them up because the person there wouldn't do them. It's always people, and you have people complaining, no matter what you do or how good you do it, you're gonna have people complaining. And that's like I said,
I know, but it's different now. It is different now.
no,
I mean, it is.
what do you mean by,
I just.
what do you mean?
Make excuses, bro.
I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you, we've had problems up there for years with it.
Well,
Yeah, just-
If
not
I
just the
may,
last
if I
2
may,
years.
I think we're getting a little off topic. Maybe it would be better to have Hunter talk a little bit
Go
more
ahead,
about the
Hunter.
project.
I'll try to stay out of it.
Mayor?
What's
I would
that?
say if we have a fault, it's ours. I agree with you. If you want to have something done, you put it in contract. If somebody bids it out and they have that price amount on it and we accept that price amount, the job should be done to our satisfaction. And it should be done, no questions asked. We shouldn't have to make a special position for anybody to do a job that should be done already. It's our fault. If something's not getting done right, we're letting it slide. We're not taking care of the problem. If the first person before this last one was in there and not doing their job, you should have said something. And if they didn't like it, then you void the contract, hire somebody that will do the job correctly. If they don't do it, you go down the line until you find somebody that will do the job. That's part of a job description, that's part of bidding, and that's how that works. If you don't have somebody that's willing to step up to the plate and tell you you're doing wrong, then you don't know you're doing wrong and you're just gonna let it progressively get worse. It's common sense. There shouldn't even be an argument about it.
But the issue that I see there, Josh, is that sorry, we've had one person apply for this position. Yeah, for the last 2 times that I remember the contract being done, so.
Then make the job description what you want it and have them do it. If they
Well,
don't do
and
it, they're
if
not,
they don't do it, then what do you do?
you don't have that position, I guess, or you find somebody that will do it. There's
Well, we
lots
can't.
of people
The
out willing to
people are
work.
not out there ready to step up and take over that.
Maybe
position.
advertise it a little better. There's a ton of people looking for jobs. You can't argue that. I'm sorry, but you can't. And I mean, I've worked in many places, and if you have a job description, you do what's in that or you're down the road kicking rocks. That's how jobs work. You should know that.
I've been around that for a long, long time.
Correct.
Josh, I understand that, but if there's, things have changed dramatically.
What, we're too courteous to people now? We're too
No,
nice?
no, we're too damn lazy to work. And
I'm
that's-
not. I
Well,
get up every morning at 4:30 and work 10 hours and go home and cook dinner and take care of the
okay,
family.
then go up to the community center.
It's not my job. I didn't bid it, did I?
Let's move forward.
Yeah.
Let's stop. Let's,
Yes, John.
Hunter, stop. Hunter. Back to you.
Sure, thank you. I will say, I haven't been in facilities for a long time and haven't been a contractor for a long time. I appreciate the black and white and the clarity of it. With that said, too, the building is 12 years old, the grounds are 12 years old, the trees are 12 years old. All of this stuff is starting to show its age up there too. So with already mentioning with some surplus, it's maybe some time to put some money back into that investment that the city's put into that community center. But part of that is going to be, we had an arborist out there to look at some of those aspens that are dead out front, and they're just dead, unfortunately. Stuff happens, like stuff has to get cycled through. Your, 1974 C10 eventually has your old pickup truck or whatever eventually has to take a lot more maintenance to make it work too. So the idea is, to try to get some clarity out of it and try to maintain it and keep it running as best as we can with this.
Yes, Mayor and Council, thank you. I guess I would suggest, and Hunter and I haven't really talked about this, so he'll probably get mad at me tomorrow, but we could bid a level 3 service and a level 2 service to get multiple prices. This is just to get an idea of what costs are out there. This isn't a be all end all of all decisions. And I think as far as facilities and management of facilities and management of contracts, we've had a lot of internal discussions as staff on how to better manage our contracts. So we're having the same discussions you guys are here today on making sure that if we do award contracts, that we have somebody who's going to step in. And right now, Hunter's willing to say, hey, I will take those other duties as assigned to make sure those things get done. So I think that's been part of our shortfall to date, is that we've all been hired for all of these other job descriptions, and we all try to cover those job descriptions. Community center is that one piece that's never really fit one person at any point in time, but we all step in and try to make that facility work because we can see it's a benefit for the community. So you'll have to bear with us a little bit, and we'll try to better manage those contracts and decisions and make sure that they're being enforced appropriately. If you guys are seeing something, know that Hunter is the person we talk to, go through and let's figure out what things look like, but we can't be everywhere all the time. We can come back. Change orders are a thing of existing contracts as well. We have done that, but we'd have to see what this looks like as far as bidding this previous contract and what we want to do. But the reality is we have to get some level of service defined here so that we can get a price for it, so that the community center gets taken care of appropriately to your guys' standards. So I think that's what we're here trying to do. So how about we do the 2 and the 3 and get 2 different prices, and we put that out for bid, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, that sounds good to me, Mayor. I'd look forward to seeing the difference and who comes back and, what those prices look like. I think you have put a lot of work into having a productive solution in a really tricky situation. So thank you for clarifying for us and getting really specific here in what we're asking for and what we want to see.
Missy?
Lance, thank you for that. I would agree, putting out for 2 and 3 would be good for us. I would also think about initially potentially changing what some of that landscaping is. Some of the things that were put in are great if it's going to be your personal yard and the, ongoing. I think there's different perennials that could be there that are lower maintenance, that are still attractive and those kinds of things. And I also appreciate you noting that, and Hunter, your willingness to be taking a look at the community center. And one of the concerns I've voiced frequently is we have a number of very expensive properties that are being leased but owned by the city. And I hope that that will extend to making sure the folks leasing are doing the due diligence on the various properties. I mean, we're finding out with much of our infrastructure and buildings, like, yeah, if we're not paying attention on a regular basis, not just cleaning the air filters, but ongoing maintenance for our various buildings, and how's the roof and the foundation and the heating and cooling systems, we can end up in a world of hurt with having a number of fairly expensive properties. So appreciate the shift that y'all are doing in public works to be extending what you're doing. I know it's adding to your workload for that, but it's appreciated.
Yeah, and it's not a permanent solution. I told Hunter, I said, we can be a little bit late on some of these other things we're trying to get implemented in this being a Band-Aid, but it'll come up in our strategic planning and goals. I think this is an ongoing conversation we need to have as far as council. When I showed up here and remember seeing buildings initially, I was like, oh, wow, nothing's been touched in a very long time. And you're starting to see buildings come around, but it still isn't, we don't have a facilities person, somebody specific to that. That's all just absorbing and trying to make it work at this point in time. And you do have investments in this infrastructure and you want to make it last, just like you do streets and other things that you own. Make sure you have long-term planning on it and somebody's taking care of it. So there'll be more discussions we'll have at a later date on that issue as well. I agree with you, Missy, on the space around the community center. I often see that facility gets rented not just for its indoor use, but its outdoor use as well. And a lot of those plantings, when I walked around it, they do limit how much usable space is around the community center. They look really nice. I think we got sprouts best when the plantings went in, but that comes with a high level of care. Whereas if some of that was turf and watered and mowed, it could be places where those pictures are being taken rather on our grounds, rather than the golf course, or ways that we can work around there and use the building a little better. So Hunter and I have kind of looked at that, and we're evaluating that as well. Can we turn some of this into more manageable space that still looks nice, that's usable space for that building?
Questions anymore? Okay, you guys got some direction?
We do.
Okay,
We'll be back.
sounds good. Thank you. Thanks, Lance Hunter. All right, let's call it an evening. I think there's anything else on there. No, it's a work session. I'm over this. Okay. So I'm over some of this.